Bev. It's another episode of Stick a Fork in It.
Yeah.
And we're actually on location, which we don't do very often.
Beautiful mise en place.
Mise en place, iconic. I say that a million times.
Right.
But I should be using Epic because we're here.
Yeah.
Because the 8th Annual Epic Chef is coming up.
That's right.
And the executive chef and founder of Mise en Place is Marty Blitz. And we happen to have the Marty Blitz Award.
That's
because
right.
he's the OG.
Yeah, he's been around since the beginning.
Yeah.
Mentored a lot of the people that have competed in Epic Chef, mentored the mentors of the people competing in Epic Chef.
Right.
It's pretty interesting.
We've even had some of the chefs that have worked underneath him that have opened and been successful in their own right with their own restaurants on the podcast before, Rooster and the Till.
That's right.
It's just an amazing community. And, again, as he says, he's an OG. But, right now we're getting ready to talk to him. But, he's still very hands-on. If you want to come to Mise en Place, he and his team have a meal together before each day that he cooks for them. He does the menus, and he's really very hands-on after almost 38 years.
A lot of experience.
In Tampa Bay. So you guys enjoy Marty. Make sure to go to Mise en Place. I've been going since the 90s. It's an amazing experience and an epic chef.
Yeah, coming up.
Tell folks how they're going to be able to watch it.
Yeah, so, it always sells out quick inside. There's not a lot of room at the Epicurean Hotel to actually come and watch, but we do a live stream every year that you can watch on our YouTube channel at Feeding Tampa Bay. You can come and hang out at Epicurean. You can sit at the bar, sit at the lounge, watch the show. It's a pretty fun event all throughout July and the beginning of August.
Yes, there's 5 Mondays. You and I've got stuff to do.
That's right.
Right? So feedingtampabay.org/epic chef. Check it out, and you guys enjoy meeting the amazing Marty.
That's right.
Marty, welcome to the podcast, my friend.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It's your first podcast today?
First podcast ever.
That's okay. We're going to get you started. Now you're going to want to be on podcasts all the time because it's so easy and fun to have those conversations. So we're at your restaurant hanging out. It's quiet, but I'm sure it's filled every night because you are iconic in this Tampa Bay area.
Oh, thank you.
For sure. So let's start out telling us a little bit about you. Where did you grow up?
So I grew up from Brooklyn, but I just was born there, and I grew up in outside of Detroit.
Okay.
And I did an apprenticeship at the Golden Mushroom Restaurant. It was in Southfield. It's now a CVS, from what I heard. So,
okay.
So I moved to Clearwater when I was 20. Got married to my business partner, Maryann. Moved to Clearwater, and then just
And you've been
went
here
from there.
since you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
So what, again, I keep using the word iconic, but you are one of the most iconic chefs in our area. How did you choose food?
So when I was like 14, I worked in delis outside of Detroit, and that's just my introduction to the restaurant business. And I always kind of did that, and then I decided when I went to a culinary junior college, kind of like equivalent to what would be like HCC here. Met a guy who was working at the Golden Mushroom, and he said, "Hey, we became friends." He said, "Hey, you should come here and work." I said, "All right." So I went over there, and what's crazy is I went there and I was making decent money at another restaurant, and the pay was low. And this is going back 40 plus years ago. Well, no, yeah. And the chef told me the pay, and I was like, "Nah, I'm good." And then I left because it wasn't like now where people work for free, and
Right.
And so then I was working this job, and I was kind of miserable. And then totally different than working any other job I had. It was very serious. Czechish chef who was pretty hardcore, and still not in the mindset like it is now, where you got food channels.
Right.
It's out there everywhere. Then it was just kind of like a job, so it's different mentality, so so I worked there for 3 years, became an apprentice. It was a good experience, but like I said, different mindset then at those days than now.
Right.
So you didn't absorb everything like you would have. I would have probably stayed another year because the chef was so great, I could have learned so much more. But so from there, I moved to Florida, got married, moved to Florida, and then my first chef job, I felt like, man, I need to know more things, and I had access to that, and I didn't take it. So that's basically, it was from moving there to here. So
Right. So when you say hardcore for a chef, I know there's this, there's shows out. What is it called? Bear?
The Bear,
I think
yeah.
The Bear. There's shows out that show some kind of hardcore situations in kitchens.
he was almost like the level in the flashbacks. I mean, like in that show, there's flashbacks where the chefs,
Yes.
who you think you are with your tattoos and your
Right.
piercings, and it's kind of like he was kind of like almost that level, like.
Okay.
And he was young. I mean, he was when I worked there, he was in his 50s,
Okay.
and
Which now is young to me.
which,
Yeah.
but it
Because
felt
I'm in my 50s.
but it felt old then. Like I
Right.
thought
Back
he was
then
this
you
old
thought-
guy,
yeah.
and I'm 60, so.
No, you're not.
No, I'm 60. So I think of myself, like when I think of him in the 50s, that he
Right.
was this old man, almost it would be in the 80s. Okay,
Right, right.
But the guy was like amazing. But he was kind of like hard. He was like very like intense, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all chefs are somewhat intense, but I guess kind of like. I mean, can you like swear on this podcast? Or?
We try to keep it a little PG.
Okay,
but
Yeah, a little PG on this one, but we
So-
know where you might be going with that.
So he was like I remember like people would cry, people would walk out, people would, he would bring people to the worst
Right.
point of
So the culture back then, which you're talking the 80s, right?
yeah, well, yeah,
70
probably
late
late
70s,
70s, yeah,
late 70s, early 80s, was the tougher you were on somebody, the more you made them grow, right? Is that the...
Yeah, he believed that he would create chefs that would move on and help them move on to other restaurants.
Right,
And,
right.
And but he would he would dump he would if you made something he didn't like, he wouldn't just say more salt or more this.
Right.
He would dump it on your station and tell you it's garbage and you suck and you're not going to be anything and
Wow.
So I mean, if you didn't yell at, like I remember we had one position that was in the prep area. So they had a restaurant. They had two restaurants. They had one in the bar area and it was pretty busy. And then they had the fine dining main dining room. And the prep area was like a lunch kind of and a bar at night, but it was busy. And that was a very, very, very difficult station to work because you just did everything. You were one person and you would feed like, 100, 200 people, but you had a limited menu, but still,
Yeah.
it was very hard to work. And so I remember, and he would be down there prepping on a table on the side. And if I had a pan and I put oil in it to cook something, and if he did not hear it sear, like that sizzle,
Yeah.
he came and he would interrupt you while you have tickets coming in and tell you it's not hot enough, throw your pans across the line.
Jeez.
I mean, it was intense. So
Wow.
it
I
was
can't
a
imagine.
crazy
high pressure environment.
That being my
And-
training,
Right.
right?
and
That's,
so it would make you definitely stronger. I mean, and then he would like berate you in front of everybody, and then tell you don't yell at the waiters enough. Like that's why there was always that the mentality of cook's kitchen versus front of the house because it's not that way so much now. It's more everybody gets along, but
Right.
Back then it was really kind of common knowledge that the kitchen, the back of the house, and the front of the house did not get along,
Wow.
and it was like almost like common knowledge. So through the years that has changed, but
Right.
I got yelled at for not yelling at servers. So I was like, okay, so these things you remember,
right, of course. That's like your first experience.
So, but through the years I got through it. And it was tough, but I ended up leaving. Everything was great. And then he turned 80 about, 10, 11, 12 years ago, and they had this reunion. And I was kind of, when I was there, I was just a young, dumb, kid, and I left still somewhat like, and now I have businesses, and
Yes.
and so like he didn't, I think, respect me then, but now, through all the apprentices, we basically. He said I was invited to cook his 80th birthday dinner at Courts in Michigan,
Wow.
So it was kind of a great feeling, and with a great lineup, and
That's an honor.
And then we talked, and he said, I'm really happy. You've done great, and it was like to hear that from him.
Yeah.
Was pretty cool. So
Your first mentor.
so I felt like that was great, So yeah, so that was a good thing, So.
Are there other, you came to Florida. I know you were saying that you needed more skills.
Well, I mean, when you're so my first chef job was at a restaurant called RG's North. Do you remember them?
Yeah, I do. Used to go there.
Remember RG's?
I'm not sure I do. Yeah.
You look young.
Yeah, he's
Missed that era.
young.
Missed
He
that
wasn't
boat.
eating.
But RG's was cool because they were like the first new American style restaurant in Tampa. So I was at Saddlebrook prior, and then just doing line cook, and then I got this job at RG's as a sous chef, which was great because I'm still I want to learn, and I got married young, so I didn't have that travel ability. So I go there, and then the chef within the first week quits because he was really into food shows.
Gotcha.
And he was getting a sponsor, so they needed a chef, and they said, "Hey, do you want to be the chef?" I'm 20. I'm like, "Yeah, I'll do it," because
Sure.
you're cocky, and
Right.
So at that point now, I still wanted to learn. So you kind of learn as you go,
Right.
So I mean, I had a decent background of training, but at that point, you realize, God, I need to know this and that and whatever, So you kind of learn as you go. And fortunately, I'm pretty self-inspired. So that gave me an opportunity to just take the challenge, and so it was good. Like it was a good opportunity. So I was at RG's, and they, like I said, did a lot of new American things. They had RG's downtown. They opened Cactus Club, and they had like 4 restaurants in the portfolio before they kind of closed everything. But it was a good opportunity for me.
How did you run your kitchen when you were the executive chef?
So there, I was pretty low key because I still was learning myself.
Right.
So I was kind of pretty nice. I always felt I would be nice because I just felt I didn't want to be like the guy that I worked for because it wasn't cool, and I was always pretty respectful to everybody. And then I still didn't know the intensity of like food, and I was still learning too.
Right.
So like now everything's all Michelin 1 star, how many stars you got, and it's so intense, but then I was kind of more like, because at the restaurant too wasn't like a Michelin restaurant. It was more like a kind of a just a good new American restaurant with fun food, good tasty food, and so and some young kids that were working there. That was one of my first job at that, and we had a good crew, and it was like fun. And the owners were cool, and they were fun. They came from Chicago, from the Lettuce Entertain You group, so they had a good mentality of hospitality. So. It was fun for the first like almost 2.5 years, and then they started opening other restaurants and everything got more serious. But I was always pretty like in the moment, pretty chill, so
Low key.
Low key, then.
So when you were at RG's, what was the favorite that you prepared? Like what was the?
So they're big sellers. They did a lot of so when I moved down, I never heard of grouper when I came to Florida, and then it was like one night you'll sell 50 orders of grouper, But I mean, grouper would sell, and the way they did it was crazy. Like they would, here's coming from a point where we've worked in minimal restaurants, and you know some skills, but you're still learning. So they would cook grouper in like clarified butter, like almost deep fried in butter.
Okay.
Like they'll clarify like 2 cases of butter, and then use clarified butter to saute. But it wasn't really sauteing; it was really frying it. And they would almost do a score the fish like a checker, like a tic-tac-toe board,
right? And
then drop it in there, and it looked like it was so good,
right? All that,
but
everything's good with butter,
but it didn't make sense to me, and I'm still learning. So I'm like, why not just use minimal fat? Like saute means cooking minimal fat, fast, hot, and I just never seen anything like that. And I would try to, and like I say, just still new. I would try to tell the owners, look, you can save a ton of money, use like a neutral oil, and finish with butter, and this is young. I'm 20. I don't know anything, and they're not listening to me, They're because people love it. Well, of course you're gonna love it. It's crispy, it's buttery, it's grouper, which is so that things like that would sell. I mean, back then they had like just it was pretty nice things for being sold.
Right.
But they did some kind of weird things, but it is what it is, So
I was just kind of gonna get a pulse on what type of foods you started with and where you ended up, which we'll get to.
Yeah, they had they would run minimal specials, but everything was rotating. So it was either a beurre blanc or a hollandaise.
Okay.
Like back then it would be like a scout. Oh, tonight's the prep cook. We get a list. How much per blanc? 3 pounds of butter, 5 pounds of butter. How many holidays? 10 eggs, 20 yolks. You know what I mean? So depending on if we did like a dill hollandaise or a scallion beurre blanc, or sometimes we did a beurre rouge. So it's a red wine like sauce beurre blanc, and then you do a beurre rouge and a beurre blanc on a plate with the fish on top. You know, back then, and then your sides on the side. You know,
Right.
So yeah,
Plate and pretty.
So yeah, it was all good, and then all your sides were choice of 3 starches, and everybody got the same vegetables. So that was kind of the format
The
of that
vegetable of the
restaurant. Yeah, so whatever it was. So
Yeah.
so that was the format of the
Okay.
of the menu.
Okay. So what was your next step professionally?
So RG's was good, and then they opened RG City Center, and then I was supposed to move there, and then they said, we want you to stay here, RG's North, and I was kind of ready. So I said, look, I'm not happy. So they said, well, we'll bring you to City Center, but you'll have to step down as a chef. I said, at that point, I didn't care. I said, yeah, that's fine. So then I was doing some catering at Ruth Eckerd Hall, which was fun for a lot of a lot of bands, and because Maryann, my partner, was working there as F&B, and so you'd have and I love music, so you'd have all these killer
Wow,
bands.
wait a minute. Maryann was at Ruth Eckerd Hall doing F&B?
Yeah.
Dang. Okay. Okay.
So I kind of would do some of those and they were fun. So I decided I think maybe I'm gonna do some catering. So at that point I kind of phased out of RG's, and then we started. Maryann found a spot for us on Platt Street, and it was 840 square feet. And then we worked out of my house for about 3 months while we were building it, and it was crazy. We would have I remember we were at Ruth Eckerd because we had a little connection there. Do a party for 200 people. I have a refrigerated truck in my driveway, and
Wow.
prepping in my house when I lived in Summerlin Heights, and have it was just honestly I don't know how we did it. I hear people do it now still,
Yes.
but it was crazy. I mean, we did a lot, and then we moved there on Platt Street, and it was expensive to to start because no one really believed in you, because I was a chef at RG's, but I didn't really have investor people, and I
Right.
didn't have and I was just still kind of new, so trying to get loans were hard, and it was a lot.
So the struggle was real. Getting
So
started.
it was it was a lot. So it was her and I, she was still at Ruth Eckerd, and then I had a guy named Gene Robb that worked at RG's, and he was kind of my sidekick. So he was front of the house. We didn't have a dishwasher. We would wash all our dishes I remember the biggest day was when we hired our first dishwasher. That was a big achievement,
Yeah.
And we worked out a little space, and we did a lot of stuff out there. But until we got recognized, it was kind of like a struggle,
Yeah.
So we did everything. We did wholesale, and we're not bakers. I mean, we're not pastry chefs, but we could fake it enough,
As long as it tastes good.
It was
There you go.
great. I mean, everything was, back then it's a whole cakes, and we're very common. So we did a little of that. We just did whatever, and then one day we had this lady who came in and said, I hear you guys do good work. And we're struggling. We're ready to close, And she goes, I'd like you to do a party for me. And I said, oh, great. So we do this party, and it was good. And then she had friends that had us do parties. She really I attribute to her a lot of saving our business.
Okay. So she helped get you out there in front of the right people.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So because of her, we got good connections, and we it really saved us, So.
That's amazing. Are you still connected with her?
She's still around. Yeah, she comes in there. I see her once in a while. She's older now,
Yeah.
but I haven't seen her in a while, but I just think of her,
Yeah, of course.
But
Those people that influence you or you meet
yeah,
that move you on. So once you met her, you get connected with everybody.
a little bit, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
let's pause professional for a minute and let's
Okay.
get into personal life.
Okay.
We jumped right into professional. We want to kind of get to know you. We know where you grew up. You got married up north to
Yeah,
Maryann?
married Maryann, my business partner, so at 20, and then moved here. So yeah.
And you guys have been business partners for how many years now?
Well, yeah, 30, almost 37.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the marriage didn't last that
Right.
long, but Everything was good. It just we were, was not our time,
Right,
So,
right. But
we were able
even
to,
through getting divorced, you guys had common goal professionally and have remained friends.
yeah, we learned to
And work together.
Work together. Well,
Yeah.
not always great, but
But that's human,
But
I
yeah,
think. That's
I
kind of a
think
human
so.
element.
100%. I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So tell us about your wife now.
So my wife, Marja, is a personal trainer, and she's really big into fitness. And we've been together 24 years.
Okay.
And married 20. So yeah, and she's pretty supportive of what I do. And
So what's her favorite meal that you cook at home?
well, she eats, like, being very into fitness. She loves like roasted vegetables, proteins. So she eats relatively pretty healthy.
Yeah.
So she's not really into the creative aspect of it.
No.
It's just more of the sustenance.
Which kind of doesn't put you to work when you get home. It's easy to roast a chicken and some vegetables with it.
Yeah, so yeah.
Good to go.
She's pretty
So
easy.
does she have a favorite on the menu here for those special times?
She loves, so we serve our branzino right now as a special. So that's her go-to rack. She loves the rack and lamb. And then she had a filet the other night. Really, she hadn't had it yet here, so she really liked that. So
Wait, how many years have you been together and she hadn't had a filet from here?
well, she always her go-to was like seafood.
Oh, okay.
So and then meats, I would always give her the hanger because I always felt it was a better cut, And then I never really feel fillets like the best cut, I don't know. One night I was cutting fillets and they looked really marbled and really nice. So I said, "Have filet," And she really
Try it.
she loved it.
So explain, because I always thought that the filet was the best cut of meat. Talk to me on
Well,
that.
filet is very lean.
Yeah.
Like I was watching. It's funny. I was watching something the other night. It could have been last night about the filet and all chefs hate fillets, but it may have been Chopped. They were talking about. Oh, it was last night. I was watching Chopped. So. Fillets, how that's chefs hate fillets, but they love ribeyes and strips and fatty meats. And filet is, to me, I agree though. I mean, I would never order filet if I go out.
What would you order?
I would order. My go-to is a strip. A New York strip. So it's kind of. I think it's somewhat true. I mean, I think filet is buttery and it's like tender but it's just no fat.
Right, it doesn't give you the flavor. Like the
So-
richness is a other cut.
But I did a filet for a catering we did a few weeks ago, and I did like a tataki, and it was like just seared and pretty raw, and had some Asian spices on it. Man, it was like melting in your mouth. So at the same time,
It's got its place.
Yeah.
It's definitely got its place. So,
I love a little seared or carpaccio is a thing
Oh,
for me. I
totally,
love that stuff. Oh my gosh. Okay, we totally got. Oh, you know what? Before we move on from steaks, Wagyu. What is the big deal? Is that because of the fat?
It's for the marbling and the
Yeah.
fat. Yeah. I mean, we were doing Wagyu here years ago. We're not a steakhouse, so like we don't get crazy in the true Japanese Wagyu. But we use the Australian, and honestly, I think it was pretty good. Well, the stuff we got like a strip in, and I would get it like trimmed, just like a block. So they would cut like the nervy. There's an end that's very nervy that you can't serve. So I paid a little more per pound, but I would able to utilize the whole thing. And we would grill like the scraps, and it was like an A5 and it was I think really good. So I think there's definitely truth in the hype of Wagyu. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's worth it to indulge.
I wouldn't. I mean, I
can.
definitely like some, because I think you can be something is over marbled too,
Okay.
but I feel the stuff that we were getting was definitely tasty, and I mean, like over prime, you get a really nice prime steak. I don't know, is there that much difference? Maybe not, but
Yeah.
like I said, for a while we were using it, and we would get like Wagyu flank, and because we're more into like maybe more inexpensive cuts, so we don't have to charge crazy price points.
Right.
But the stuff that we got, I was always happy with, and I just kind of got away from it, and so I haven't done it and brought it back. But it was fun when we had it, when we did it. So.
Okay. So, looping back around, you met this amazing woman. You catered her party. She introduced you to folks. What was the next step from having that catering company on Platte?
Okay, so eventually we were just like a small unit. So then we took a space next door. So we were an 840 square foot business, but then we were in a 6 unit, like a little plaza.
Okay.
So we took the space next to us. We went through the wall with like a wall concrete. So it was. So the way we did stuff back then, we had to survive, so we had no money. So we went with a concrete saw, and it was so crazy.
And did it yourselves?
And kind of did it.
That'd make a good show nowadays. Actually.
It was pretty crazy. I mean, the stories. I mean, it was crazy. But we took the space and we put a little, dining room, and then we took another space, did another dining room, and then we took 4 out of the 6, and they were all separate, but they connected. Obviously, you go through the doorways and stuff, but. So then we were lunch, and then we were dinner, and we were pretty busy. And then we were catering still, and we were killing it. Like then, we had a smaller menu, more simpler. I was on the line every night. It's like I think I was saute. I had a grill. We had a pantry. I think that was it. And so we kind of maintained that for I don't know how many. I think we were there 5, so maybe like 2-3 years. Mm-hmm. And then we closed and moved here. Mm-hmm. And what's crazy about that story, we closed on a Saturday and we opened here on the next Friday.
Wow.
So we didn't even do any friends and family. We just opened cold turkey.
Just hit it. So
that's like what your shirt says.
Yeah, just getting right into it.
I mean, we just said, screw it. We're just
I know we got to get Chef a badassery shirt for sure.
But I mean, we came in here and I'll never forget my sous chef says, "Do you think we'll ever do like 300 covers?" And I'm like, 'cause we would do some nights we'd do 220 and that was a lot in that little space. But I go, I don't know. I'm like, maybe. And then the first night we did 500.
Wow, jeez.
Everybody was excited about it.
So
what year did you open here in this location?
So we were there 5 years. So whatever. So that would have been 91, 92.
Yeah. So that's when I came here for the first time.
Okay. All right. So so when we opened here, it was rough for about a year. Well, probably a couple of years, just with staff, and because we didn't add anybody, so we're doing almost double the business with the same crew. So I had people walking out. My bakers quit. I'm baking cheesecakes at 2 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was crazy. That's when now the mellow guy was not mellow.
Right, a little stressed out, not as glamorous as people would think.
So it was pretty rough, but that took a while to kind of figure that out. And a lot of restaurants go through that, Unfortunately, we didn't have investors, and we didn't have, lots of money to have extra people, so we could, a lot of restaurants open, they have that. They have extra cooks, they have extra staff, but we were lean, so. But so we did that a couple years. And
would you change that? Would you change building your business lean like you did in organic?
Well, we had to. We didn't have the option.
Would you have wanted to have investors, or do you appreciate the fact that you started lean and mean?
I feel the respect that how we did it, but I just feel it's good. It's good to have deeper pockets when you open. So
makes it a little bit easier, but
it was crazy. So then we kind of, we were lunch, dinner, catering still. So that was pretty good, and we were pretty. And the bar was decent. We had good bar, so we had a lot of, we were good, man. It was exciting. You know? So
and how long was that run to
so that was, I don't know how many years, but that was a good while. Then we opened Mojo at some point. So we had the South American Cafe on Davis Island. I think that's when things were starting to slow down a little bit. Mojo was a fun restaurant because I loved those Latin flavors, and we were kind of, modernizing them a little bit. But it was kind of like the idea that we live in a Latin community, and we felt like it should do well, But it didn't do good, It did okay, and the food was great. I mean, because it was also a casual concept,
right?
So it was cool, but I just think logistics, it wasn't meant to be. So we ended up closing that after 2 years. Then we opened the market, kind of overlapped with Mojo. So the market was where Dats is.
Okay.
We had this Mise en place market, and the idea was going to be a big wine store, a lot of home meal replacement. Like I said, a market, and it was cool, and it was exciting, and I think things were kind of not were 100% where it should have been. But I hired a chef that used to work with me on Plaid. He came back to work, and all the home meal replacement was kicking off. It was exciting, but he hated it.
Oh.
So then
Oh, no.
he goes, I want to do a restaurant.
Yeah.
So, and he was the man, and I'm here.
Right.
So we do a bistro, and it was great. I mean, he was awesome. And it was cool. We did a brunch. I mean, it was killer. But then here I go getting divorced, you know.
Right.
And
Life changed.
So we can't keep both spots. And I felt at the time we had great parking. We were busy. Didn't have great parking. So I felt we had to let that go. So
Gotcha.
So that was that time. And then Moho had closed. That closed. Oh, at one point we had a jazz club.
Oh, nice.
I think that was going on before everything else. I mean, we had here, and then we opened. It was called 442, and it was in the building, at the end of the building, and it was cool. It was like live music every night. I think we were four nights a week. Always really killer, like local, maybe not local music. We had a limited menu, which never really that part people didn't get. So but it was cool. And then that had eventually closed, and that became like just a banquet space.
Gotcha.
So we had a lot going on, and then everything kind of came down to basically mise en place again. So,
Yes.
and that's
Back
when
to
things
base.
were kind of rebuilding at that point, you know. So,
So in all this time, I happen to know, and it's been mentioned before, you've been a mentor to a many of chef that's worked underneath you.
we've had great people work here.
Amazing, talented people.
Farrell Alvarez
Yes.
of Rooster.
He mentions you specifically.
Yeah,
He's been on
recently
the
on the show.
podcast before.
He was here 8 years, and he's a good friend and a great chef, of course. And I'm just really proud of what he's doing and accomplishing now. So happy for him, and Ty as well, his partner. So Farrell. Then we had another guy that was pretty cool. I thought about, and his name was Eduardo Jordan.
Okay.
So he worked here as his internship, and then was going to open a place in Tampa. He had some money that he could do something, and decided he went to work for Thomas Keller at French Laundry,
Okay.
and then went out to Seattle, and then he opened, his name Eduardo Jordan. He opened Solari and June Baby, and he was like in Food and Wine magazine. He was all over the press. So the guy really blew up. I mean, so I was really excited to see that. And then he actually did a dinner at Farrell's at Rooster Until, kind of like he does those summer series dinners, chef dinners. And I had gone to that and get to see him. But to see him, I mean, he just kind of worked in the pantry, did pizzas, desserts here, and then left. I think he left here to do like a stint at French Laundry. So I mean, that was a pretty good success story. So.
Yeah, right.
So those
That's
are probably the
amazing.
two exciting ones, for me. So
That's awesome. That's amazing. So you're telling about your brands that you've had. What brands do you have going on now?
So now we have. So my partner is basically it's called the Dewey and the Berkeley Beach Club. So they have 6 suites. They're like amazing. They're like a 2-bedroom suite that has full kitchen, full living room area.
Okay.
Right on premise. They have a rooftop bar, a pretty nice restaurant down below. They do a lot of events there. It's a really killer space in Paso Grill. Okay. So I was a part of that, but not as much as I was more in the beginning, but more involved here. And then we have a restaurant, a cafe in the airport called Cafe by Mise en Place.
Nice.
And that's a fun project too, because it's kind of like this food, but not like elevated as much because of the dynamics of the airport. But
Sure. So if
pretty
somebody's
cool.
flying in and wants to experience mise en place, what is it that you guys serve at the airport?
So the airport, it's similar foods that were like maybe more on our lunch menu here.
Okay.
We don't have a big like entree selection there, but a lot of like sandwiches, some good, like really creative sandwiches, some
Describe
starters. So we have like a grilled cheese that we do with like roasted tomatoes, mushrooms, goat cheese, Gruyere. And that's very popular. We had on our lunch menu was really popular. It was called the Willie Moore sandwich. So it's a story of Will Moore. A guy says, "Give me 50 curry chicken salad sandwiches on pumpernickel with provolone cheese." And I said, okay. And then he never showed up for the order. We prepped it all. So hence his name was Willie Moore
Yes.
on the check, that didn't go through. So
That is hysterical.
hence the name of the sandwich. So we put it on our menu, and great sandwich. People loved
Right?
it.
Wow.
So you made all your money back from being
Yeah.
ditched
Right.
by Willie.
So yeah, so we had to run it. So this is on Platt. This goes back to Platt Street.
Right.
So that was always on the menu, and then we put it on their menu, and it sells great. It's kind of old school, a mango chutney that we make, and pumpernickel toasted with provolone. Great sandwich. But yeah, so that would be one of the kind of signature style dishes.
I'd go with the grilled cheese all
that
day.
sounds really good, yeah.
All day.
Our salmon dish that we used to run on lunch menu, very popular. It was basically grilled salmon with, pan-seared with jasmine rice, little grilled asparagus, roasted Roma tomatoes, and a green apple curry vinaigrette.
Yum.
And it's great, and it's still on the menu there, and it was a big seller for us here. So
Yeah.
so things like that. With more starters, we actually just redid the menu, so adding a couple more starters, and just kind of But from what I understand, people really like it.
Yeah.
So for the airport, breakfast was new to us too. We never did breakfast, so having to do breakfast at the airport, it was kind of challenging, but it was kind of fun, and I think we have some great breakfast items.
Yeah, if you think about the airport in the past, the options have definitely elevated to have more creative, healthier foods from, I've been around here a long time. You couldn't even hardly get anything to eat at the
Right.
airport before. And now you have Mise en Place as you go in on your trips or you're coming into Tampa.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I'll go and check in on things and try a few things. And when we did the menu change, I tried about probably 8 items. And I'm thinking at the time, these are really good, And obviously, are they perfect? Maybe not. But are they really good for an airport? I say yes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, they're really, really good.
Yeah.
so that's basically what we have right now.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't touch on the pandemic and how that affected your industry. What did you guys do from the shutdown, and how did you pivot, to kind of keep your business going? And then we'll lean into how you actually helped us feed folks and connect us with people.
So we pivoted to being a to-go restaurant, which
Okay.
we always
catered
we
before.
kind of started, and I kept most of my cooks. I had some people I had to lay off for temporary, but I kept my core staff, and we developed into a pretty good carryout. Which
Nice.
we kind of made the menu more like comfort style foods. We did family dinner packages. But we were building that pretty good. And at one point, we were all saying can't wait to put food back on real plates.
Right.
Because, it was kind of fun. We would have music playing in the kitchen. We would be drinking, whatever. We'd sit down after and eat dinner after.
Right,
Because,
together.
like I said, there was really nothing to do. So it was kind of in that, in that zone, of that. So it was fun. But at one point, like I said, all right, we're ready to open. So I remember Mother's Day of that, whatever year that was, when we were allowed to reopen. That's when we did a brunch, and then we reopened. And everything was changed because it was smaller, staff was smaller.
Yeah.
You were limited to how much you could seat and serve.
The tables had to be spread apart.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
everything.
I recall that.
And I'm known I do a huge menu, so then I just totally shifted gears and started doing small menus. Now the menu's pretty decent size, but I really do enjoy a smaller menu now. So it just took me a pandemic to realize that.
Right.
So
Well, it seems like you've kind of learned through experiences all the way through in your career.
I learned a lot in the last 3 years, honestly.
Yeah. I think we all have.
Yeah. So
Right? Because we were doing, 50,000 meals, pushing them out, pre-prepared meals.
Yeah.
In partnerships with restaurants throughout our community and our own Trinity Cafe Kitchen.
Right.
So, going to, senior facilities. Ev and I went there a few times where, they were locked down and had really no options. So the restaurant community, you being one of them, gathered along with us to help put those meals in those homes.
Right.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what friends are for.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. And now we'll get on to how are we friends? It's pretty epic.
Right.
Hello, Miss Kelly Sims. Welcome back to Stick a Fork in It. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to chat today.
We're having such a great time at Mise with Chef Marty Blitz, who you know is an iconic chef and has been a mentor to so many people. But we wanted to talk to you specifically so we can make sure we get those Epic Chef details down. So how did Epic Chef start?
Really, this is such an exciting story in that our partner, Mainsail Lodging, that actually hosts the event now at their Epicurean Hotel property, have a policy that wherever they open a property or a concept in a community, that they want to partner immediately with a nonprofit that is meaningful to them. And so it happened to be that our CEO, Thomas Mance, was relatively new in his role here and new in Tampa, as a matter of fact. And so that organization reached out to us. Tom Haynes reached out to us to say, we'd really like to do an event with you, and we think we could feature this concept, because this particular hotel, as you know, is built around the idea of all things food, hence the name Epicurean.
Yes.
Whereas in other markets, it may be music, it may be other things. And so it felt very much on brand to them to get to know a local food bank and to come up with an idea that they had in their mind around a chopped style tournament event that was multiple weeks, and where at the end of the competition, a local restaurant is actually named the Epic Chef winner of that year, and they could proudly display that award in their restaurant, which now in its 8th year has proven to be exactly what they planned it to be. And we've been the beneficiary of that kindness that whole time.
I think a really interesting feature of the competition for Epic Chef is that it's sous chefs. It focuses on them. They have their executive chefs there most often cheering them on. It's folks that are early in their career and wanting to advance in that. And it's just celebrating them. And I think together now we've grown to a place where, from a culinary standpoint, we're all trying to really lift that community and support that.
It's so true. The original idea is, we're not asking the restaurant to put their reputation on the line by their executive chef necessarily performing, but it also does something that I think they didn't plan, and that is when you put the sous chef forward in this competition, it really shows the depth of experience, because we have these sous chefs who, as you've seen, Shannon, and I've seen in my now 6th year of this event, the depth of their knowledge could probably run a restaurant in most any other location. And so you really get to learn a lot more about a restaurant than we might have thought initially. And then the other thing we've found more and more with this event is what we share with our restaurant partners and our hospitality partners and the entrepreneurs, the restaurateurs who develop this, is this true understanding of what happens around a table. And yes, they create and curate some of the greatest menus you can ever go to at our event, but also in their own place of business. But they know that what they're really doing is making possible this couple of hours around a table where people can fellowship, get to know each other better, share stories, become a closer family, become better friends, all the things that happen around the table. And each year I'm more and more reminded of the fact that while we do it in completely different ways, giving food out, obviously in a beautiful menu or in a box of groceries or a prepared meal, in the case of Feeding Tampa Bay, we're doing the same thing. And that is, we're allowing people to enjoy those moments together around the table.
Well, and it's really interesting, I believe, due to the pandemic, we started streaming Epic Chef. So anyone can watch from home and enjoy the event all 5 nights. And then we even have an element where you can be part of the event and vote on a number of things for those chefs.
Yes. As one of the things we found out very early on is we sell out all 5 and before that 7 weeks of the event so quickly. And there was this group of people who were saying, like, I didn't get to see, how can I be involved? I just want to learn about the chef. I want to learn about what you all do at Feeding Tampa Bay. How can I somehow be involved? And so the concept of streaming it, allowing the public to join in. And now we've added interactive opportunities for people to vote and share a question or something. And so our desire is not to limit this to the 50 seats that are in the Epicurean Theater, but rather expand it wherever possible to make others be involved.
Yeah, and if folks want to drop by and see us, you and I for 5 weeks, and our team and the restaurant, some of their team will actually be in the lobby and the bar during the event. We invite folks to join us. The Epicurean puts together some wonderful beverage specials and some dinner specials so you can enjoy and kind of be there with all of the energy and the big screen TVs. But we do encourage you to go to feedingtampabay.org/epic chef so you can join us from home and just as always be part of the Feeding Tampa Bay family. Thank you so much, Kelly, for stopping your day and joining us to talk about Epic Chef, the 8th annual, and I can't wait for it to start.
We can't wait either. So thank you for allowing us to tell more about the story of Epic Chef.
How long is it? So we're gearing up for Epic Chef.
Right.
It's coming again. 8 years. You've been doing it the whole time?
Yeah, since the day one, yeah.
Since day one.
We've done, our staff has done good. I think we have 2 or 3 wins. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But the funny here, okay, so this is kind of funny. So the first guy who won was Will. And Will's a good guy, and he worked for us on and off for a while. Mm-hmm. And so he won, and it's all about the cause, really. If you think about number one reason, the cause, hands down.
Right.
Yes.
And then all the other little stuff is kind of fun. It's like a bonus. So he wins, and he's got a little ego, and that's cool. So then Gabe, the next guy, Steve. So Gabe was my chef after Will I think Will was still here, but Gabe did it. He was a sous chef. So he did it and won, but then they did like the $5,000 prize.
Yeah. They got a little crazy.
He got the press.
Right?
So, and Gabe doesn't really have, his ego is great. Gabe's cool. Everyone loved Gabe. So, Will was so mad because he still
didn't get
worked
the
there.
good stuff.
Right.
But not only that, but it was the best part about all was one of my other cooks taped the article of Gabe all in around the kitchen, so Will would see him. So he would tape on the ceiling. He would tape. We have this loft with a draw. You pull down the ladder, and he taped it on when you pull it down.
No.
There. I mean, I don't know how but it was just funny. So, but I mean, it's just a competition. Then one of our chefs at the time, and everyone didn't really like him too much, and he didn't win the first round, so everybody was almost kind of happy.
Right.
So it's just, you're always rooting for your own crew, but at the same time, you know how chef egos are. So.
The artist.
But
it's an artist ego.
But so it's been fun, for sure.
So describe a little bit for our viewers and listeners what the competition is like.
So I did it one year. They had chefs do it, and that was fun. So it's pretty intense. I mean, everyone, I think, is practices before, and they think about, I want to make certain side dishes that can do quick, and it may work with the ingredients, it may not, but at least they have something. Because you're timed.
Yeah.
And you want to have something up your sleeve,
Right.
You can't just go in there blind. I mean, some people can, but it's good to have, a kind of a pre-thought.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, I mean, generally the ingredients are pretty fair. Then they don't get too crazy. A couple years ago, they threw a couple zingers.
Yeah, so each competition has 2 surprise ingredients, and now we've kind of moved to the children picking it,
Yeah.
which kind of really gets a little hairy.
Oh, okay.
And then the chef from the Epicurean picks the other one. So now
Right.
it's the kids' picks that are a little like Captain Crunch,
Yeah.
you know, things
Right.
like that. So what's it like when so you're saying you kind of prep a little, you practice.
In
you
your
kinda get
mind,
groove
yeah,
on.
you think about like,
But what
all
happens
right.
when you get Captain Crunch thrown at you?
So you get something like that, then you just gotta go with it, you know. So
Like
you always
pivot.
think, well, there's always sweet. Every food is sweet, sour, all the different elements of taste. So just sweet, and generally most food you use a sweet component, and that becomes your sweet component.
Got
I mean,
it,
if you
yeah.
have to kind of like someone not as experienced may not know that. I'm not saying like I'm greatly experienced, but I would say
You've just
like
been doing this for a
but
minute.
yeah, but you know that would be something that you would utilize in the sweet component. So
Gotcha.
like for the sugar, instead of using sugar, you would use the Captain
So the
Crunch.
strategy of the meal, it has certain elements it has to have, and whatever's thrown at you, you replace it with what you
Right.
normally would.
So yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that doesn't sound that tough.
So that's not yeah. So
That's the element
Wait.
of how, I guess, after
so
that.
if you kind of know what you're doing, you
Yeah.
kind of embrace that a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, some of the challenge. You know.
No, and the Epicurean stocks their it's their theater, and they stock it gorgeously. I mean, I've
They do a
been
great
for
job,
4
yeah.
years. Like you have every fresh. The whole wall is seasoning. So, do you have everything you need in the moment when you're competing?
Yeah, you have equipment, you have blenders, you have food processors.
Yeah.
You have, you have they give you stocks, they give you, dairy. I mean, spices.
Yeah.
So pretty much everything you need to kind of create
To kind of
a
move
dish,
around and
yeah.
do what you want. So, there's an award.
Yeah, there sure is.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
I don't know, man. It just means I'm an OG that that
That's it. That's right.
been around.
It should be the Marty Blitz OG
Yeah.
award.
Yeah.
But we do a lot for the community.
We do.
I guess we got recognized. That's part of it. Just being around for a long time. And
Helping start something.
Start, yeah,
It's now in its
so-
8th year.
So I'm honored to be in that role. But
And we're always thrilled to
exciting,
have you
yeah.
and talk to you. So, with that, how does it make you feel to have your peers win the Marty Blitz?
I think it's great. I think it's it's
Like,
very, it's
here you
very-
go. You're welcome.
It's very exciting. Yeah, and it's great. Like I said,
really
it's
an
great
honor.
to be. I'm honored and great to be part of it.
Yeah. So why Feeding Tampa Bay? Why?
You guys do so much. I mean, why not? You know what I'm saying? I mean, you're amazing for what you do, and just glad to be involved. Any way we can.
Well, and it's like kind of, we always say, great things happen around a table. Another thing is everybody has one thing in common, it's food. So when you put a hunger relief organization and amazing talented chefs, it turns into this big thing that gets sold out very quickly. But the reality is we're all thinking about these meals that can be on tables and what that end result is, because there are folks that aren't enjoying a meal at all or a healthy meal, and we're all just working together to kind of put those on
Right.
tables, because that's really the end game, and why we do Epic Chef is it's just really all these amazing talents, all these wonderful people that sponsor, everybody getting together to really put meals on tables. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and it's great to see how many people that want to partake and
Yeah.
be involved. So
Well, and I think it's really fun now too, because Ev and his team now have a streaming. So if you let's just be frank, it sells out in 5
Yeah,
minutes.
right.
I mean, now in our 8th year, I think it was like not even a week, and we were completely sold out.
Yeah, there's only so
But
much
now you
room.
can experience it by coming and hanging out with us. We're going to hang out on your night
Mm-hmm.
with your badassery shirt that I'm going to get you. But you can hang out with us at the Epicurean, but now you can really watch it from home on TV.
yeah,
Yep,
Right?
on YouTube.
yeah, I've done it. I mean, it's great. It's
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. So we invite you to watch on YouTube.
Yeah.
Again, all this work that we do to try to put meals on tables. Follow us on social. Share what we do. Follow Mise en Place.
Yeah.
Know
We
what
need
they're
Mise
doing.
en Place.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah.
yeah. So follow all of us on social and, yeah. Okay, now we're going to move on back into personal stuff. Okay. So, do you have a memory of a meal around a table?
So I do. I was thinking about that. So one thing that comes to mind is a Christmas I don't know how many years ago. A good friend of mine, he's a restaurateur, and this before he became in the restaurant business. It was Christmas Day, and we would always before he got into it, he always talked to me about what am I cooking for Christmas this year for his family? And then that's Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day, we would spend like the night I would usually go to his house and be with his family. And we did a leg of lamb, and we cooked it together. We stuffed it with the garlic and the herbs, roasted it, made the jus. I remember making the gratin potatoes like to go with it. I think we had some, I don't know, green beans or something. But I just never forget drinking red wine as we're cooking, hanging out at his house. And that's a memory that I think
that pops
very
into your
special.
mind.
Yeah,
That's
because I just
amazing.
think that was like so awesome in his
Yeah.
family, and then sitting down with his family,
Right.
it was really cool.
With friends in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That's always, and then add wine, of course.
And of course,
You know.
Makes parts hard to remember, but
Definitely.
yeah.
For me, actually, being a young adult, coming here was my first experience with fine food. I learned about wines, what wines went with what. You had great servers. I'm talking back in the 90s. You had wonderful servers that kind of walked you through it if you were young and just really wanted to know. And then put something on my palette, on my list of yums is foie gras. Not everybody does it, but dang, I learned about it here. And then to this day, we come and I'll have a craving for that, and this is where I come for that. So, everybody, you guys look at the menu. Mise en place is iconic. It's amazing. Every bite is delicious, and the beverages that go with it. Our time at Mise en place is almost over.
Okay.
So I have a couple more questions
okay.
for you.
Closers.
So there's a table, right? You have 4 seats at the table. Yours is 1. Whether it's somebody who's here with us or not, who are the other seats at the table?
So I think a cool table would be like my old chef Milos, because where I was and where I'm at now is, I think, cool. Like I said, I mentioned before, I'm really into music, and I love this kind of rapper guy, Action Bronson.
Okay.
Okay.
He's really well known in the culinary community and as well as the hip hop community.
Okay.
So I would think he would be a cool person to hang out
We
with.
need to get him for
yeah.
Epic Chef.
Yeah, he'd be awesome. I saw
Maybe you can help out with that.
I saw him when he was at Janice he was here
nice.
recently.
Yeah.
And it looked like everybody were like cooks, beards, like
Yeah.
hats, But he definitely appeals to a lot of the culinary.
Yeah.
And he has like shows like F That's Delicious. I mean, he's very.
Okay.
He has
Okay.
he was on Vice Network. I mean, he's super. But his music is great. But in fact, he's playing in the kitchen right now. This week, so and then like I said, music wise, and just a guy I think is great is Ben Harper. I would love to
Okay.
hang out with him. So
Yeah.
So I think that would be a cool
Yeah.
little table.
It would be
so.
an awesome table.
Right.
So what would you cook?
So I would do like a beef shank, because I think those things are awesome, and you'll never see them. It would feed definitely the table.
How would you cook it?
I would braise
Braised
it and
beef.
just do just some fun side dishes with it. But I think because of the size of shank, because generally you always hear lamb shank. Well, it's hard to do beef shank in restaurants because you can't really. It serves a group. And
yeah.
Okay.
So like a short ribs, or I love braising. So like lamb shanks or veal shanks are small. But a beef shank would be like one whole big, the size of like a basketball, and then you would just carve it, and everyone would just chill and eat,
Yum.
Nice.
drink, and be fun.
Sounds delicious.
You know?
Finally, you have been a mentor to so many by design. Do you have any advice as we pack up and leave your restaurant today for people who are looking to get into your industry, who want to be an executive chef, who want to be an entrepreneur?
I mean, it's a great field. It has its ups and downs like anything, but I mean, when it's going good and things are and you're doing the food you want to do, you have happy guests and things like that. It's a great feeling. And so, and I encourage people to do it. I'm glad to see it. Feel like at one point with COVID, people weren't really wanting to work, and so now you're seeing more people getting back into it. So it's just to be excited and passionate about this field, not just cooking, but the hospitality field, because there's so many aspects to it,
Right.
And like I said, it's very rewarding when things are going well. So
Right. And you're a testament to, you talked about during, apprenticeships and things like that are really important because it's how you learn, so
Totally.
getting into that. And it's like from when you moved to Florida, actually, and you went all the way through all the things you did, brought you to here. So people need
Yeah.
to be patient and love what you do.
Yeah, it's true.
All of it.
Yeah.
All right, friend. Thank you for
Good
sitting
deal.
with us.
Thank you.
We'll see you at Epic Chef.
Yeah.
And you'll be flying our colors. Yay!
Yeah, I will. Hopefully.
Thanks, Fred.
You can learn more about Feeding Tampa Bay and how to join the movement at feedingtampabay.org. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and TikTok at Feeding Tampa Bay.